Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The world had grown loud in 30,000 years. Skyscrapers kissed the clouds, satellites filled the sky, and Earth's people marched on with confidence that they were the masters of their planet, the pinnacle of evolution. They had forgotten the stories carved in obsidian caves, the strange black metal buried under the Arctic ice, and the warnings etched in symbols no archaeologist could ever decode. Forgotten until the sky cracked open. It happened on a Monday because fate always picks the most ordinary days to change everything. At 2:14 p.m. GMT, every satellite above Earth shut down in perfect synchronization. No signal, no GPS, nothing. 23 seconds later they saw it, a ship if you could call it that. It was not sleek or beautiful like human sci-fi predicted. It was jagged, rusted, and humming with something primal. Some said it looked like a wounded animal, others like a ruined cathedral. Whatever it was, it moved like it had all the time in the universe, and it was descending slowly, confidently towards Earth. People didn't panic, not immediately. Governments tried to cover it up, scrambling for answers, declaring it a test, a glitch, a malfunction, but the ship didn't care about politics. It hovered over Greenland, over a forgotten glacier, and simply stopped moving. Then came the message. It wasn't broadcast on radio or hijacked through digital screens. It arrived through people. Thousands across the world suddenly collapsed into seizures, eyes rolling back, speaking in a language no human throat was made for. One voice shared through many mouths rasped into the world. This world harbors what is not yours. You built your civilization on what we left behind. We have returned and we want our ship back. They called it the voice. Within 12 hours, global panic exploded. Stock markets crashed, cities rioted. Greenland was declared off-limits by every major government, but of course that only drew more attention. Journalists, scientists, mercenaries, truth-seekers, they all wanted to know what the hell the voice meant. What ship, what technology was this? Humanity's first contact or a claim of ownership? Dr. Lena Avasar had waited her entire life for something like this. A linguistic archaeologist turned conspiracy theorist, she'd been ridiculed out of academia for her theory that several ancient languages shared a hidden extraterrestrial root. Now people weren't laughing, they were begging her for answers. 30,000 years ago, she said on a global broadcast, an object crash-landed in the ice. Not a meteor, something older, something built. Early humans found it and tried to worship it. That's where we get the sky god myths from the Paleolithic era, but eventually it was buried again, lost to time. Until now. The camera zoomed in on her tired, determined eyes. The voice says we took something that wasn't ours, but what if we didn't just take it? What if we used them to evolve? That theory sparked the fire. If Lena was right, then everything about human progress, fire, tools, language, cities, might have been sparked by contact with alien technology. It wasn't evolution, it was inheritance. And now the owners were back. The United Nations formed an emergency coalition called the Artifact Council, made up of world leaders, scientists, and military strategists. Their job, figure out what the aliens wanted and whether humanity could or should give it back. The problem was, nobody knew exactly what the ship was. The one hovering in the sky was newer, maybe even a messenger, but the original ship buried deep under the Greenland ice for millennia was something else entirely. It powered cities, it solved hunger. It made weapons that turned deserts into glass in minutes. Humanity had taken pieces of it, reverse-engineered it, and built an entire generation of hidden technology from its secrets. Even the Council didn't know how far the corruption went. Governments kept secrets from each other. The artifact had become the skeleton key to global power. Giving it back would mean collapsing the very foundation of modern life. But the aliens didn't care. On day 4, a second message came, this time through seismic pulses felt across every tectonic plate. Return what is ours or we will take it. And just like that, Earth was no longer home. It was the scene of a heist, and the owners had come back to collect. The Artifact Council convened in a secure bunker beneath Geneva, built during the Cold War but now filled with trembling voices and heated arguments. The mood was grim. Half the world's leaders weren't even physically there, choosing instead to join through proxy screens that flickered and jittered, the electromagnetic fields around the alien vessel wreaking havoc on even the most hardened tech. General Elias Monroe stood at the head of the table, a retired American war hero turned head of Earth's United Defense. His eyes were dark from sleepless nights, and his voice, though calm, carried the weight of unspoken dread. "They've given us a warning," he said. But that wasn't a threat, it was a promise. Lena Avasar sat 2 seats away, her palms sweating. She wasn't a military strategist or a politician, but she was the only person in the room who seemed to understand the language, the culture, the intent behind the voice. "They're not bluffing," she said, leaning forward. "They didn't come here to negotiate. They've waited 30 millennia, and to them that's probably nothing. You think they'll wait another week while we play nice and pretend we can control this? President CIA of the Eastern Coalition narrowed her eyes. Then what do you suggest? Hand them back the core of our civilization, dismantle everything we've built in the last century. You want to go back to living in the dirt. Lena shook her head. I'm saying if we don't talk to them, if we don't understand them, they'll do the dismantling for us. Then the power cut out. For 6 seconds, the entire planet went dark. Hospitals, airports, security grids, satellites, all of it gone. Then, just as suddenly, it came back online. But in that brief window, something changed. In 12 cities across 6 continents, massive black pillars had appeared overnight. Unscannable, impossibly tall. No video footage showed how they arrived, but eyewitnesses claimed they grew out of the ground, as if planted like seeds long ago, waiting for a signal. The voice returned not through seizures this time, but directly into every human mind. The seeds remain, the debt remains, the ship is ours. Lena felt it like ice in her spine. The voice wasn't just words anymore. It was memory. Flashbacks poured into her head, visions of a time she'd never lived, primitive humans crawling into the wreckage of a godlike vessel, touching glowing panels, seeing the stars for the first time. Fear, worship, curiosity, a silent agreement between species that spoke no common language. And then betrayal. The humans had broken into the ship's heart, stripped it of its energy, killed what was left of the alien crew trapped in stasis. It wasn't inheritance, it was desecration, and now the tomb's owners had returned. Back in Greenland, Operation Deep Lock, a top-secret excavation site built 2 decades ago, was now silent. No signal, no survivors. The council tried to send drones, all of them fried midair, some exploding as if repelled by an unseen force. Whatever lay beneath that glacier had awakened. Lena flew to the edge of the exclusion zone 2 days later, escorted by an elite UN task force. The cold bit through her coat, but it wasn't the weather that made her shiver. It was the feeling of being watched. The ship above hovered in dead silence. It hadn't moved in days, but it pulsed like a second moon carved from steel and bone. As they approached the ice field, something cracked, a deep groan from beneath their feet. The ground rumbled. Soldiers raised their weapons. Lena barely had time to scream when the ice split open like glass and something massive emerged. Not a ship, not a building, a door. Smooth, black, and ancient, covered in markings that danced when she looked at them. It wasn't just a structure, it was a message. The ship wasn't just buried here. It was the ground beneath them. They'd built an entire facility on top of a slumbering titan, and it had just begun to wake up. The air around the excavation site grew heavier with every heartbeat. It wasn't just the biting cold. It was something deeper, denser, like gravity itself had thickened. Lena's breath came in short bursts as the ground trembled under her boots. The enormous door continued to rise from beneath the ice, revealing more of its size, towering, ancient, and lined with symbols that seemed to flicker and twist of their own accord. Soldiers aimed their rifles, but there was nothing to shoot at, no enemy, no movement, only a presence, something vast, watching. Colonel Vex, the UN task force commander, barked orders into his comms. We need to fall back now. I don't want to be standing on this thing when it opens. No, Lena said, stepping forward. It's not here to hurt us, not yet. Vex looked at her like she'd lost her mind. You think that's a welcome, Matt? She ignored him. Something about the symbols on the door called to her, not like a voice, but more like memory. They shifted as she approached, some of them forming patterns she recognized from ancient ruins she'd studied in Ethiopia, Peru, and Siberia, always dismissed by mainstream scholars as coincidence. Lena had believed otherwise, and now, standing here, those wild theories no longer seemed so crazy. The symbols lit up as she drew closer, lines pulsed outward from the door like ripples in water, running through the ice beneath her, illuminating the field in ghostly white light. Then came the sound. It wasn't mechanical, it wasn't even auditory. It was inside their heads, a low vibration, like the purr of a sleeping beast stirring for the first time in eons. Every soldier flinched, a few dropped their weapons, hands to their ears even though there was nothing to hear. And then the voice returned, but this time it wasn't just in Lena's mind. It came from the door itself. Designated species Homo sapiens, unauthorized access of vessel core, trespass protocol violated, seating protocol corrupted, initiating reclamation process. A hiss echoed through the air. Panels on the door shifted, splitting into segments, revealing an opening narrow at first, then expanding. A mist poured out from inside, not smoke, but something alive. It flowed like liquid shadow, snaking through the air, curling around their boots, whispering across the ice. No one move, Vex barked, but Lena moved. She stepped forward, drawn by the fog, by the strange warmth coming from within the door. Against all logic, her mind told her this was familiar, like stepping into a dream she'd had as a child over and over again. And then she heard something behind her. Footsteps not human, long, dragging, deliberate. The soldiers turned first, guns up, a line of red laser sights cutting through the mist, and then it stepped into view. It wasn't like the ship above. It wasn't a sleek alien with glassy skin or insect limbs. It was tall, humanoid in the worst way, like someone had tried to imitate a human body and failed. Its arms were too long, its neck too stiff, and its skin looked like old stone fused with metal. One eye glowed blue, the other was empty. The soldiers opened fire. Bullets punched into its chest and arms. Sparks flew, chunks cracked off, but it didn't fall. It didn't even flinch. It raised its hand, 5 fingers sharp as blades, and flicked its wrist. Every soldier in a 30-meter radius collapsed instantly. No blood, no screaming, just gone. Vex hit the ground hard, clutching his chest like his lungs had stopped working. Lena screamed, running to him, but the creature turned its gaze on her and paused. That one glowing eye dimmed, pulsed, and changed color deep violet. It tilted its head. Then it spoke, not with the voice, but its own, low and rasping, "You remember." Lena froze. She didn't understand what he meant. The creature took a step toward her, then another. Each footfall echoed across the ice like thunder. It stopped just a few feet away. "You are not of the makers, but you carry their echoes." I don't understand," she whispered. "You wills." And then the ice split again, violently this time. A rift opened beneath the facility. The fog surged inward like it was returning home. More of them stepped out from the shadows, dozens of tall, jagged, broken figures, not an invasion force, a funeral procession. The ship was not just a machine. It was a tomb, and the dead were finally waking up. The air grew still, like the world itself was holding its breath. Lena stood frozen between the crumbling edges of the ice rift and the line of creatures emerging from the mist. They moved like memories, slow, deliberate, haunted. Their jagged forms whispered through the cold, each step echoing with sorrow more than threat. She felt no malice from them, only mourning. Behind her, Colonel Vex gasped back to life. He clutched at the frozen ground, dragging himself upright with a snarl of pain. What the hell are they?" Lena didn't answer. She couldn't. Her mind raced with the echoes still ringing inside her head. "You are not of the makers, but you carry their echoes." What did that even mean? The lead figure, the one who'd spoken to her, stepped forward again. Its body was battered, fractured in places, its limbs reinforced with alien metal like crude prosthetics. But it was its eye, the glowing violet lens, that held her attention. It didn't just see her. It recognized something in her. From behind, a soldier stirred, coughing up blood. His voice cracked as he tried to speak, but the figure raised a hand, and instantly the man calmed, unconscious within seconds. No violence, just silence, just sleep. Lena gathered her courage and stepped closer. "What are you?" she asked. The figure tilted its head. Its voice came again, rasping through broken vocal cords and layered tones. "We are the custodians. We were left behind to sleep, to heal. You woke us before time was ready." "But we didn't know," she said. "We didn't even know you existed." He turned slowly, gesturing to the sky, to the massive vessel still hovering like a second moon. They knew. She followed his gaze, the voice. He nodded. "That is the archive. It is the memory of our kind. It speaks in the absence of the living, and it has judged your kind." A cold lump formed in Lena's throat. Judged us for what? For taking what was not yours. For thriving off what you did not understand. For forgetting the dead while using their bones to build your world. She swallowed hard, the truth cutting deeper than the wind. He was talking about the buried ship, the original vessel that had shaped early civilization, the technology humans had stolen, repurposed, glorified without ever knowing its true cost. "I didn't know we had done that," she whispered. "Most people didn't. That knowledge, it was buried, hidden by governments, by corporations. You can't hold all of humanity responsible for what a few powerful people did." The custodian's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his voice, doubt maybe, or pity. "You are children," he said, "curious, reckless, dangerous. And now the ship wants to reclaim what it lost." Suddenly the ground beneath the fractured ice groaned again. A massive circular hatch within the ice, nearly half a kilometer wide, began to twist open, revealing an impossible chamber beneath. Warm, glowing light spilled out from the depths. It looked like the inside of a living machine. Towers of silver bone rose from the earth, pulsing with power. Suspended in the center, hanging by threads of light, was something glowing, a core of blue and gold energy. Lena's knees nearly gave out. It was the heart of the buried ship, the source of everything humanity had reverse-engineered. Power grids, anti-gravity experiments, nanotechnology, even the first prototypes of human AI neural links, the seed of modern civilization. And the aliens had just reactivated it. Soldiers on the ridge screamed into radios. Drones tried to record the event only to burn out midair. The entire planet was watching now, helpless to intervene. Then, without warning, the hovering alien ship in the sky began to descend, slow at first, then faster. The clouds churned in unnatural spirals. Thunder crackled with no storm in sight. The voice echoed again, more powerful than ever. The reclamation begins. Surrender what was taken or face extinction. Colonel Vex dragged himself beside Lena. Tell me we can negotiate. She didn't answer because deep inside she already knew the truth. This wasn't a negotiation. It was a reckoning, and humanity had no bargaining chips left. The world fractured, not in physical space but in certainty. Every nation tuned in, every screen lit up with the same image. A glowing rift in the Greenland ice, the heart of the ancient ship now exposed, and alien figures standing guard like solemn priests at a holy altar. The council scrambled, but their plans unraveled in real time. Nothing worked, no drone, no missile, no diplomacy. The alien ship descending from orbit didn't fire a weapon. It didn't need to, its presence alone bent physics. Planes rerouted, weather patterns shifted, satellites scrambled to recalculate their positions, and across the world, devices built with black market fragments of alien tech sparked, shorted, or exploded entirely. It was like the ship was calling its pieces home. Back at the edge of the excavation, Lena Avasar stood trembling, trying to make sense of the chaos. The custodian, still unnamed, still watching her with that violent eye, spoke again. The vessel must be restored. Its purpose is not war, but if your kind resists, that purpose will adapt. What do you mean restore? Lena asked. It's still here, it's always been here. He turned his head slightly. What remains is broken, what you took was scattered. You cut the flesh of a living being and wore it like armor. Lena's breath caught. Wait, you mean the ship is alive? He stepped aside, revealing the core, the swirling light suspended in the air like a captured sun. It is memory, it is thought, it is vessel. Your ancestors breached its mind and its mind bled. From behind, Colonel Vex swore under his breath. So what we give it back, everything we built, our satellites, our energy systems, our weapons, that would crash the planet. It may, the custodian said calmly, or it may heal you, but that choice is not yours anymore. Far above, the alien ship pulsed. A soft vibration spread outward, felt more than heard across the globe. Machines began to whine, not explode, not collapse, they just paused like they were listening. Then one by one they shut down. Hospitals switched to generators, airports went dark, military drones plummeted out of the sky, and in the homes of billions, screens flickered to black except for one line of text that burned into every display, every projection, every neural hood. Reclamation initiated. Chaos followed. In the streets of every major city, panic erupted. Crowds stormed into stores, into government offices, into each other. But it wasn't just fear. It was rage that humanity had been lied to, that their entire world had been built on the back of a secret no one voted for, no one knew about, no one understood. And it was all unraveling. Inside the excavation site, Lena reached out toward the glowing core. You said it remembers. Can it hear me? The custodian did not move. It does not hear as you do, but it feels and it knows. You were the first to speak with respect. What do you want me to do? There is a path. You may choose to be the bridge or the spark. Lena blinked. The spark. If it rejects your kind, the custodian said softly, there will be fire. The message was clear. Lena could attempt to communicate with the ship, to mediate between the aliens and humanity, but if she failed, if the ship judged humanity unworthy, it would burn the Earth clean. Above them, the orbiting vessel shimmered as more structures unfolded from it like wings opening or claws. It was preparing to land, or maybe to merge. Colonel Vex stepped forward, face pale and hard. If she tries this and it backfires, what happens to the rest of us? You cease, said the custodian without emotion. Lena stepped into the light, the warmth wrapped around her like a womb, thick and humming. Her mind swam images, sounds, entire lifetimes of knowledge pressed into her at once. She saw the original crash 30,000 years ago. She saw the humans, barefoot, trembling Aruk, dig into the wounded ship and steal from it without knowing what they'd done. She saw the stasis pods, the custodians, the failed awakenings, the pain, and then the voice of the ship. It was not words. It was grief, and it had waited so long. She opened her mouth and spoke. The light engulfed her, not burning, not blinding, just endless. Lena's body vanished into sensation, weightless and suspended in thought, as if her soul had been plucked from her flesh and dipped into memory itself. Time didn't exist here, only understanding and sorrow. The ship didn't speak like the custodian had. It remembered at her. It showed her the moment it had crashed, badly wounded during a great war that stretched across stars and species, a war humanity had never known about, one that ended in silence. The vessel had not come to Earth on purpose. It had fallen, broken and bleeding, its last crew entombed in frozen stasis chambers while its core slowed, hibernated, adapted. And then came the humans, primitive, curious, fearful. They crept into the ship's wounds and carved out its organs. They called its corridors gods, its lights holy. They desecrated the sleeping bodies, pulling fragments of bone and metal for trinkets and tools. They wrote myths in firelight about beings from the stars and never realized they were stealing from the dying. Lena cried not in her body was gone, but in her mind, herself. She felt the ship's grief and guilt burned in her chest even though she hadn't been born yet. The pain wasn't directed at her. It wasn't about punishment. It was about the unbearable loss of being forgotten. "I'm sorry," she whispered into the light. "We didn't know." But the ship did not forgive. It only showed her more, how fragments of its tech had wormed their way into the roots of human civilization, how corporations, secret agencies, and rogue scientists had used its power without understanding its purpose. The ship hadn't been a weapon. It had been a seed, a vessel of knowledge meant to restart life after war. But humanity had used it like a toolbox, not a teacher. Then it finally asked her a question, not in words but in intention. "Do your people deserve to keep what they stole?" Lena wanted to scream no, but she also thought of her brother in New Mumbai who worked 2 jobs just to keep their mother alive. She thought of a little girl in Argentina who learned to walk again with synthetic limbs powered by micro-fragments of the ship's energy. She thought of entire cities powered by clean reactors based on stolen designs. Humanity had sinned, yes, but they'd also grown. Maybe not enough, maybe too slowly, but they had tried. And so she answered, "We don't deserve it, but we need a chance to earn it." There was a pause, not silence, a pause in time itself. The ship listened. Then for the first time it showed her something new, a memory not from the past but from a possible future. A planet scorched by retaliation, dead cities, skis full of ash. And in the ruins, a small group of human children standing beside the custodians, learning, not stealing, learning the true nature of the stars. A fragile hope that something better could grow from the ashes. Lena awoke screaming. She was back in her body, collapsed on the ice. Vex was shouting her name, the custodian kneeling nearby, head bowed. The ship above still hovered, silent and glowing. "I spoke to it," she gasped, voice raw. "It showed me what it remembers and what it's willing to forgive." Vex knelt beside her. "Did it give us a chance?" She looked to the custodian. He answered, "The archive pauses, it will not erase you yet." Yet the word hung like a blade over the earths. Lena rose, trembling but upright. It wants the world to make a choice, not the governments, the people. It's offering us something dangerous, a chance to share the technology the right way if we agree to dismantle every stolen fragment first. Vex's face went pale. "We're talking about revering a century of development, that's suicide." "It's the only way to survive," she said. Above, the ship stopped descending. A light rippled from its base, visible across the globe, and every powered object built from alien tech froze, not dead, not destroyed, just held. And then came the final message etched into the sky itself in searing alien script. 7 days. 7 days to choose. 7 days before the ship decided whether Earth would be a partner or just another failed species. 7 days. The words branded into the sky didn't fade. They hovered like a countdown over Earth, seared into the clouds by forces no science could measure and no weapon could erase. People across every continent stared upward in silence, their lives paused, their systems frozen. Governments scrambled, military leaders barked. Tech corporations tried desperately to override the lockdown, gripping their stolen inventions. Nothing worked. The ship had seized its children and the world began to fracture in panic. In Washington, riots exploded near Capitol Hill. In Beijing, officials enacted full lockdowns fearing rebellion. Across Africa, Australia, South America, places where alien tech had brought clean water, safe energy, medical miracles, the shutdowns crippled entire communities overnight. Hospitals without synthetic energy cores began losing patients. Fields dependent on weather drones started to fail. The world that had become reliant on alien tools now staggered, helpless without them. And all the while, the clock ticked. 7 days. Lena sat in a bunker beneath the Geneva Council hub, surrounded by diplomats, scientists, and military minds who had stopped pretending they understood what was happening. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt the ship again, its grief, its age, its cold indifference wearing the mask of divine judgment. "What's it waiting for?" Vex asked, packing like a caged animal. "If it has the power to wipe us out, why give us a week?" Lena replied because it doesn't want extinction, it wants obedience, or at least remorse. "Remorse won't bring back a century of infrastructure," snapped a diplomat from the African Union. "How do you explain to billions of people that they need to give up the very things that feed and heal them? Because we built it on the back of a cosmic corpse." The room went silent, no one had an answer. Then for the first time Lena spoke clearly. "We don't give it back to them, we give it back to each other, open source everything, no corporations, no military black sites. We create a global initiative run by the people, for the people, transparent, ethical, collaborative." Someone scoffed. "You think the nations of the world will just agree to that out of guilt?" "No," Lena said, "out of fear." And fear was spreading. In Siberia, a covert facility housing a hidden alien core tried to move the artifact underground. The moment they breached containment, the entire mountain collapsed, not from an explosion, from molecular collapse. Matter simply stopped obeying gravity. 2,000 soldiers vanished into what one survivor described as a fold in space. In Brazil, a billionaire tech mogul refused to shut down his AI-enhanced drone program. Within minutes, every drone turned mid-flight and returned to his mansion. The house vanished from the grid. What was left behind was a crater full of black glass. The ship wasn't just watching, it was enforcing. By day 4, the world understood. You didn't get to negotiate with something that could rewrite physics. You obeyed or you vanished, but obedience was not unity. Countries began turning on each other. Blame spread faster than any virus. Accusations flew: who had stolen the most, who had reverse-engineered the deepest, who had profited while others starved. World War III didn't break out, not yet, but the air was thick with the promise of it until Lena stepped onto the world stage with the help of the custodian who now rarely left her side. She transmitted a live message through what little tech still functioned, hijacking public channels, civilian devices, even city walls that the ship's systems had claimed as communication nodes. Her face filled every screen on Earth. "This is not about aliens," she said. "This is about us." She paused, breath shaking. "For 100 years we have used something we didn't understand, and we were warned. The symbols were there, the ruins, the signs, but we ignored them because power makes people deaf." A pause. "They don't want to destroy us, but they will if we don't prove that we're more than parasites, that we can learn, that we can change." A flicker of light passed behind her. The custodian stood silent and imposing. "The ship gave us 7 days not to surrender but to become something."